Hello ladies and gentlemen, Willie here. Well, just as I released the last news update, Blizzard put out another huge blue post containing so much more information with what they intend to do with TBC Classic. I did want to first start off with something which was data mined a few days prior actually, which is considering whether they may be implementing achievements for the Classic era servers. Now, as you can see, there's been a number of different tables dug up which indicate as though they could indeed be adding them on a lot earlier than expected, possibly as some endgame for people who are continuing to play there, maybe to give them some more things to do apart from the standard endgame loop of PvP and PvE. Then again, I can't help feeling people who would opt into the Classic era server are there for the content which they already know about, not for anything new or special to come up, so it does seem a bit of a strange decision. This could also be the big Wrath of the Lich King confirmed, which it is already in my mind, but let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. We haven't even got TBC fully out yet. As in actual Wrath of the Lich King, when they initially introduced achievements, they had already been actively tracking them. With a quote from Jeff Kaplan here from July 7th, 2008, "We retroactively track any quest achievement or any achievement for an item which is either on your character or in your bank. There are a lot of achievements based on stuff like honorable kills or reputations. We have that all tracked." So for example, at the moment, if you had the tier 2 head in your bag or you're wearing your tier 2 legs on your character, you should automatically have the achievements for Onyx's Lair and Molten Core. However, the achievements could not track everything if you didn't have some kind of proof on your character that it had already happened. So maybe they're going really out the way to track everything at this early point. Just something to think about. Could be interesting, could be something new for Classic era, could just be some groundwork for Wrath of the Lich King in a few years' time. Moving on to the main attraction though, a blue post put out by Kyvax, which reaffirmed some things I think we already knew, but it raised a few new points which I think are very interesting and are worth a little bit of talking about. Dare I say we're learning from Classic and the game is going to be overall improved. First up, heroic dungeon keys will be revered as expected, so you better get on that reputation farm whilst you're leveling. Raid achievements will be made available in advance of the phase when they come out, so once the new content is out, you can get straight into the appropriate raid, which is fine I think. They did this in Classic when they released the Quartermaster early, who dropped the note that started the BWL achievement, as well as for the NPC and Lights Hope Chapel, so you could get your Nax attune done early. Then again, these would have been a bit more griefable perhaps than the TBC ones are. Either way, it's nice to have the achievement out and done, so when we do get the new content, we can get straight into the raids. I think this is fine. They're saying they aim to match the raid difficulty to be appropriate to when the content was current, or in a shorter way of saying it, pre-nerf. This is what was mentioned at BlizzCon. I'm glad to see this is still the desired outcome, because for some of the raid testing so far, myself and many others recognized Karazhan was missing some mechanics or just a little bit undertuned. Shatteron Gruul was perhaps not doing quite as much damage as it should have. However, Magtheridon, which was tested afterwards, was quite the step up in difficulty and was initially spawned in with far too much health, over 8 million, when his correct value is closer to somewhere around 4.5, and a lot of groups struggled on that fight much more than they had with the previous 2 areas of raid content. So if this is what true to pre-nerf looks like, I think we're looking in a pretty good spot here at the moment. Then again, we don't have all our Nax Ramus gear we have at the moment. We have our beta test server gear, which is quite a bit worse, so I think that will make it quite a bit easier regardless. And they've also mentioned that raids will be toned down as of when that would have happened in the original game. For example, once Black Temple is out, which should be our phase 3, expect quite a few nerfs to pretty much all existing content that came before that. And for when Zulaman is out, badges should start dropping in Karazhan, for example. The blue post does mention exceptions will be considered. We're looking forward to your feedback on adjustments during the testing of future PTRs. Future PTRs, I'm assuming, will be post-launch stuff. While seeing the word exceptions is exciting, I don't think they're about to double bosses' health or damage or anything, so I wouldn't get too keen on that. We have had confirmation that all world buffs will be purged at the start of raid instances. Again, this is fantastic. No messing about picking up certain buffs prior to raid that would have forced raid logging that we've been so used to seeing in Classic. Now you can just get your consumes and hop straight into raid when it's time to go. This is a great change from the original game and I think will be positive for the game as a whole. There's also no summoning inside of instances or Neverstorm. Now as for the in-instance one, I'm not quite sure why this applies if I'm honest. Maybe it's a technical limitation thing or something where you have cases of instances plus Neverstorm together, but in original TBC these requirements were not removed all the way up to patch 2.4, the Sunwell patch, which will be our final phase by the way. I think the Neverstorm changes are fine because you're actually going to need flying to be able to get up to the dungeons now, which is good. It will take a little bit of gold out of the game, but not being able to summon in instances, that's kind of unfortunate. I don't really mind that one as much. maybe the restriction for this shouldn't be kept all the way up to the Sunwell and it could be relaxed a little earlier, say at Black Temple for example, and I guess it'll be less easy to get your tailoring alts in place now if you want the guards to kill off the elementals for your spellcloth reset, so that's something else to think about. We've had confirmation Primal Nether and Vortex will work the same way as they did back in the day, where the items will drop, which ones were added to vendors when. Not too much to add there, it's just common sense really. The same goes for the blue PvP gear, which was offered from vendors at Honored. You're going to have to be grinding out PvP content for gear instead. Profession swapping to min-max has been confirmed dead. Both the untradeable enchantments on your rings as well as the special dual crafting gems gained as a benefit from those professions are now locked behind needing the actual profession to be learned and leveled up. And as the blue post states, the design intent for these perks were a player power reward for having that profession, and the fact they continued to function after unlearning the profession was a technical limitation in original Burning Crusade. So at least after you get your Bis rings, you aren't going to have to drop a profession, pick up enchanting, enchant your rings, drop enchanting, then pick up your prior profession again. On the one hand, I like that's gone because it's kind of annoying, to be honest. On the other hand, it would have got a lot of profession materials out the market, which won't be the case anymore. But I'd say it's overall a positive. Confirmation that engineering goggles will not be in from launch, and as they say, they will come with the tier 5 phase, which should be phase 2. It's worded a bit strangely, but that's the current plan at the moment. Shame for engineering, really. The goggles were a huge selling point for the profession. On top of that, a lot of the blacksmithing maces are also RIP, as they've been changed to be main-handed instead of one-handed. The blue post stating changing these to one-handed was a very late change in original Burning Crusade that would have a very notable impact on player power, and that they will be updated in a later phase to the one-hand version, probably the last phase though, so a long way to wait for that. Harris Pilton will be in from launch. He sells the 22 slot bags for 1,200 gold, as well as some other random gear to flex. Zephyr is also included, who is also in the World's End Tavern in Shatrath. He offers a portal to the Caverns of Time for players with revered or above with the Keepers of Time reputation. Originally she wasn't added till the Sunwell patch as well, so again, rip to summoning alts for Caverns of Time and Neverstorm it looks like. I thought we wouldn't have any dailies in from launch, well, apart from the call to arms, but it turns out we're going to have fishing and cooking dailies to look forwards to, so that's a couple of things that you can do if you're lacking on content a little bit. Overall, I'd say it's looking fine. I'm happy with the vast majority of this. The only thing I'd have to mention really would be not allowing summoning inside of instances. I don't think this really breaks the game overly and would have been fine to have in. And even if it did lead to some kind of degenerate speedrun type thing, Warcraft logs can always mediate that as well. It's not entirely down to Blizzard. Pretty sure drums are still pretty OP though. Maybe we get some more blue post after the raid testing now on how they feel that's all gone. We shall have to wait and see. At least there's much more of a progressive attitude towards the content in TBC than we saw with Classic, and the beta is progressing pretty fast. You've heard about that rumor for the pre-patch on 18th of May, right? Maybe? Just maybe. Still about a month off. I could see it being a thing, but as for where we are at the moment, yeah, it still feels like it's a bit of a way off. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think. There's a lot more information there. I'll try and keep up to date as new things come out. Thank you all so much for watching and listening in. I'll see you all in the next one very soon.